Hi, I'm Lee Irwin, founder of Radiant Wise Women. Ann Carey Ford and I have been friends for a long time. And Ann, I want to talk to you today about your website. You call this Voice of Divine Feminine. Can you tell us why you chose that name for it?
Sure. Hi. Yes. Yeah, I guess I should start at the beginning of the story behind this website, my own personal experience. I was put into a unexpected retreat starting in January of 2019. So that's been 18 months or however long. And this retreat was not planned. I have done a lot of spiritual retreats over my life, but this one just sort of kidnapped me out of the blue. And I kept thinking it was going to be over, and it wasn't. And during this retreat, my lifestyle really changed a lot because I was waking up in the middle of the night, every night around 3 or 3:30 usually, without an alarm clock. I was being woken up. And a lot of times I'd wake up to meditate, which is, great. But a lot of times I'd wake up to messages or what people call downloads, information coming to me when I was just kind of like in that still half awake kind of state, and the downloads were information that was new to me. I didn't really know much about the principle of divine feminine before this started happening, and there was a lot of other information too, which we'll get into in a minute, I'm sure. But as I was receiving so much so consistently over this year and 3 months process, I also did research on these topics. So I started to understand that this information was coming to me, not only for me to understand it, but for me to communicate it. Now, I have to say that I'm not a writer, a professional writer. And when I was really given to understand that I needed to communicate it, I thought a lot about how the best way to do that would be. And I decided that a website would be the best idea because it's malleable. You can move pieces around, you can take things out, you can put things in. It's not a book that is delivered to the world as a thing. And so that's why it's a website. Right now, the timing is just amazing because this started happening to me in January of 2019, and I started to become aware that there was going to be a big shift in consciousness around this time. I was given information about that too, and how the principle of divine feminine is going to play into that transition. All these pieces started to come together. I was getting the pieces kind of randomly, not in a linear fashion. And then it was up to me to assemble the pieces. And sometimes I'd assemble them and they'd change and assemble in a totally different way. But I was given to understand this period that we're in right now, which I call the shift, is a shift between the old paradigm and the new paradigm. A paradigm is a way that the collective thinks and behaves. So the old paradigm is what I call confused masculine. And the new paradigm is what I call divine feminine. So basically we're moving from a patriarchy to a matriarchy, but I call it confused masculine because it was insane. There was a lot of very dysfunctional behavior in the paradigm that's now breaking up, thanks to, in part, the coronavirus that's having everybody be on a retreat themselves. So this transition, which I call the shift, is the place we are now. We're at the very beginning of it. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I do know that the old paradigm is dissolving. And right now, what we do with this time in between, what we do with the shift, is going to determine what we create the new paradigm to be. And that's where the principle of divine feminine comes in. So I got the message to share this content a few months ago, right before the coronavirus started to happen. And it was interesting. I finally decided I should do a website, so I went on GoDaddy. And the second thing that I searched for on GoDaddy was for 99 cents, voice of divine feminine. I said, okay, that's it. I'll do that. And it kind of fit because I used to be a professional singer. So, okay, I'm the voice of this. And, you know, just in a nutshell, I'm looking down at my notes.
Sure.
I just want to mention that in the previous paradigm, the one that we're leaving, that's dissolving, you could say, there was a lot of misconceptions about femininity altogether. What authentic manifestation of femininity was or is. So I felt like during this transition time, during the shift, people had to disrupt their old way of defining feminine, just like we're redefining pretty much everything in our life right now, as far as I can say.
Yes.
And it's interesting because I see this time as very exciting and has like incredible potential for us to manifest a much, much better world, a much, much better paradigm than the one we are leaving has left us. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited about what kind of things we can create. So that's basically what voice of divine feminine is. Understanding authentic divine feminine energy is essentially the key to the new world order of unconditional love. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go on. But that, in a nutshell, the energy of divine feminine is the energy of unconditional love that lives in every single human being. And if we can touch into that, remember that, embody that, manifest that, and believe that that's our actual true nature, which I truly believe that it is, it's innate in us, then we can manifest a new world order of unconditional love, which just gets me really excited. So that's the long, convoluted answer to your question.
Beautiful. So that's really your definition of divine feminine. Is that right?
Well, if you want me to tell you what I think divine feminine is, which was going to be one of the next questions, but we can talk about it now, is divine feminine is the essence of feminine power. And I'm not talking about girl power or boss babes or #MeToo or any of that. I'm talking about the essence of what gives birth, of what manifests life. Nature, Mother Nature, is the essence of divine feminine. Earth herself is divine feminine in the way that she nurtures, in the way that she supplies what's needed, in the way that she flows and changes and morphs in the seasons, in the way that all of the elements interact with each other, in the way that there's a flow, there's a beautiful ephemeral quality, that nothing stays the same, everything changes. It's giving, it's nurturing, it's or if you look at nature, it's supplying us with everything. Nature is our nature. We are nature. There is no difference between the landscape and us. So it's not solid and fixed. It's always moving, it's always changing, it's always morphing. And that is kind of the example of how the whole thing is one unified field, how one thing, this nature that is us, is connected with all other nature that is us. It's a very unified, congruent perspective of life. And I think that's what was missing in the old paradigm, one that we're not living in anymore, because, well, there's probably lots of reasons why, but the main reason is it was forgotten. We forgot. We totally forgot who we were in this world as beings. We forgot our connection to nature. We forgot our connection to each other. We forgot our connection to ourselves. We forgot our connection to our partners. I'm speaking in very general terms here, but the essence of what I'm talking about is that by forgetting the unconditional love that we are, that nature is, that the planet herself is, we disconnected from a basic truth that was getting us in a lot of trouble, actually. Forgetting that those basic principles of being human, in my opinion, caused all the problems that we now face as a collective, as a human race on the planet. You know, the environmental problems and the political problems and the wars and the famines and the sexual abuse, and I could just go on and on. Every single problem that I see facing the world right now is caused because of this imbalance between authentic feminine energy and authentic masculine energy. What we have been defining as feminine energy is not divine feminine energy. It's not the true essence of a woman. We've been defining it by the old paradigm through the lens of confused masculine. And I'm using these terms because there's no other way to talk about it. I'm talking about the old paradigm as confused masculine, and I'm talking about the new paradigm as divine feminine, but it doesn't mean the men created the problem and the women are going to create the answer. I'm talking about these as principles. So the old paradigm didn't have the correct understanding of authentic feminine energy. And that's what I think it's time for us to remember what that really is. But we can't define it through the old lens, through the old way of thinking. And that's why I repeat over and over in this website, think different, to borrow from Apple. Think different. We have to think differently to create something different, something better, something more connected with each other, something more connected with ourselves. So it all, it all comes under the umbrella of divine feminine, like what that is. And that's what this website is exploring, what that is, how to connect with it, why it's important to connect with it. It's just in a nutshell, if we look at the problems that were left behind in the old paradigm that we couldn't even go back to if we wanted to. But who wants to? If we're in a chrysalis stage between the caterpillar and the butterfly, this is the time to envision something so much better than what we had. So to envision that, we have to really, really investigate the dysfunction of what we want to leave behind, and how to manifest as a human being in a different way, think different, so that we can move into something that's a heck of a lot better, something beautiful. I'm excited.
Lovely. So tell me something. Why did you include a page on Tantra on this site?
Tantra is essentially the practice of sacred sex. It's been around for a long time, but I look at it like it's a way to balance masculine and feminine energy in an intimate relationship. So that whole Tantra page on this website explores the premise that to show up in an authentic, intimate relationship, one has to really show up for themselves first and be familiar with both the masculine and the feminine side of oneself as like the starting place for living a balanced life. You have to balance yourself first. And these are big topics, and I'm certainly not an expert on any of this, and I've been researching it a lot and thinking about it a lot, to the exclusion of anything else in my life, pretty much. So I think Tantra is a deep topic, and I included the page with my own thoughts about why it's important to explore it now. And I also point to some resources that I curated out of the myriad of resources that I looked into when I started to become interested in this topic. That's it. If we're going to create a paradigm of more love, I think we need to learn as humans how to make more love, how to actually make love. And that's what Tantra provides, in my opinion, an avenue for really creating a new paradigm for intimacy as well, which I explored on that page. Maybe I shouldn't say any more about it, but that's why it's included here.
It's intriguing. It makes everyone listening want to go and read that page.
I think everyone listening should go read that page. For sure.
And we will. So tell me about the art page. You call it heart with a parenthesis around the art. And you have videos there of performances and some of your own poetry, which is just, I find to be lovely. So tell me why you included an art page.
I love this question because, first of all, I've been a performing artist my entire adult life, and I'm passionate about art. And the reason I put it on this site and titled that page Heart, H-E-A-R-T, with the parentheses around the art, is because it is the language of the heart. Art is the language of the heart. When the heart understands something, it has to be expressed in an artistic way, because what it's expressing is so profound and deep that it has to come out as a painting or a dance or a symphony or a piece of pottery or whatever it is. And I curated a few videos from YouTube that I think represent different aspects of divine feminine's energy of unconditional love. Oh. I picked them because they move me. They move me. I mean, they really move me. Some of them I've watched hundreds of times, literally. And they're not the most polished performances of anything. Some of them are actually rehearsals of things, or they're not necessarily famous people, or they might be grainy in their quality. I chose them because they epitomized the energy of the heart to me. And I wanted to share them in that fashion. And I included my own poetry because those are what I would call downloads too. Sometimes I get woken up and told to get a pen and write this down, and it comes spilling out of me. So I've chosen a few of those, and I don't claim to be a great poet or anything like that. I just wanted to I just wanted to offer them to people.
Ah,
I love poetry. Poetry expresses the unexpressible. It is absolutely, because it uses language in an unconventional way, it's able to make that abstract expression of this thing that we call life, which is an abstract expression in itself.
so good. Well, can we talk about the page called More?
Yes.
Yeah, so there you touch on lots of diverse topics. I mean, everything from quantum physics to plant medicine to sacred economics, and you even have a long book list.
Yeah.
So why did you include all of those resources?
Well, I think at this time, when we're navigating the shift, this period of uncertainty, as things are changing so rapidly, I think we can all agree. If we can really look at it in a proactive way, we can see that the picture is very holistic. That how we do one thing is how we do everything. That if we can consider all aspects of our lives, you know, the money aspect, the, you know, how to do shadow work, you know, all of these different pieces that have come together for me personally, I wanted to include those resources so that they might help somebody else navigate this time and create a bigger vision for themselves, create a bigger vision for the world that we are moving into. These are resources that I value a lot. And not everybody's going to resonate with all of it, but I wanted to include it all because it's all been part of the putting the puzzle pieces together for me. And since I'm being assigned to be a voice for divine feminine, and on that note, I'm not the voice for divine feminine, I'm a voice. And there are other voices too, but I think it's great that there's more than just one person talking on this topic, because different people are going to resonate with different voices, I think.
Yeah.
Let me just see if I want to say anything more about that.
Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I think I just keep repeating the words to myself: think different. Think different. Don't use the same way of thinking to create what's next, for not just for yourself, but for all of us, for the world. If we can somehow use this period of time to let ourselves out of the box, to free ourselves, to open up our imaginations so that we can imagine possibilities that we never thought were possible. I think those possibilities are possible now if we think different, if we allow ourselves to really connect with our hearts in a way that we haven't before. I'm sure all of us have from time to time, but I mean, I'm talking about a way to move into that energy and let it guide us, let it show us, let it teach us. And men, women, everybody, whatever somebody's sex is, can connect with that unconditional love that resides in us, and use that as the template for what we're creating next. It's a big, big topic, and I am certainly not an expert on anything, but I do understand that we have an opportunity right now that's probably unprecedented in human history to create something that could be magnificent, and we'll look back on this time as the total gift that I see it to be. This is a gift that we're being given, and I don't want to squander it. So I'm going to do my best And with that, I'd like to hear from people. There's a contact form on this page at the bottom of the page, and you can send me a message or give me your feedback or your questions, or share resources that have been valuable to you. I'd love to connect with you, and I'd love to know who you are. And I want to thank you, Lee, for taking the time to chat with me today. It's helpful. I don't have to write all this stuff out and try to make sense of it that way.
My pleasure.
Thank you
so much.
Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.